Pressure injuries on ascent are some of the most serious in diving, and yet the easiest to prevent. These injuries are usually sustained by poorly trained divers or because of neglected or inadequate equipment. Let's look at how the 4 ingredients of the SSI Diver Diamond, proper knowledge, skills, equipment, and experience work together to prevent these injuries. Pressure injuries are easily prevented by learning effective breathing patterns, knowing your physical condition and your physical limitations, understanding how injuries occur and how they can be prevented, proper dive planning and diving technique, and maintaining and properly using your total diving system. Lung structure. The first thing you need to understand is the function of your lungs. Your lungs are made up of approximately 300 million alveoli that are arranged in grape-like structures at the end of our bronchiole trees. Right now, every time you take a breath, the air is rich in oxygen and passes through the lungs via the alveoli into the veins and arteries to carry oxygen-rich blood to your body. If this kind of information intrigues you, ask your SSI dive professional about the Science of Diving Specialty Program. This program covers all aspects of diving physics, physiology, decompression theory, advanced equipment techniques, and the underwater environment. In Section 1, we discussed Boyle's Law in terms of increasing pressure to describe squeeze and how injuries can occur on descent. As a reminder, Boyle's Law states as pressure increases, volume decreases. As pressure decreases, volume increases. Now, we are going to discuss how Boyle's Law works in the opposite direction. Just as we learned to equalize pressure, we are going to do the same with regards to breathing compressed air under pressure. A person's natural instinct, if they run out of air on a dive, would be to simply hold their breath and ascend. For example, if an untrained scuba diver were to dive to just 10 meters or 33 feet deep at 2 bar or atmospheres, fill the lungs with about 5 liters or 10 pints of air, and ascend to the surface at 1 bar or atmosphere without exhaling, the air in the lungs would expand to fill a volume of 10 liters or 20 pints, or 2 times the normal lung volume. As you can imagine, this is impossible and their lungs would be damaged. This is why any person, before attempting to dive, should become certified. Your SSI dive professional will teach you how easily it is to prevent any overexpansion injuries. All overexpansion injuries are easy to prevent. Breathe continuously. It is absolutely necessary to maintain a continuous, balanced, rhythmic breathing cycle. Never breathe explosively or irregularly. Maintain a good level of cardiovascular conditioning. Make sure you have a high-quality, personally fitted total diving system. Maintain the system on a regular basis and use that system properly while diving. Ascend slowly, maintain control, and be back on the surface with no less than 30 bar or 500 psi.
Help! I need help! Quickly!
First aid for overexpansion injuries. Administer oxygen if qualified. Stand by to administer cardiopulmonary resuscitation if qualified. Seek proper medical aid, a recompression chamber as quickly as possible. Whenever a diver surfaces in an unconscious condition or becomes unconscious within 6 minutes after surfacing, the case must be treated as a possible embolism. The victim must immediately be recompressed, and unconsciousness is often the only sign of an injury. If you have a smartphone, download SSI's free app and you will find it contains general medical and personal information to facilitate proper medical treatment. It will also list the diver's relatives to be notified in the case of an emergency. The most common reason accidents occur is the lack of proper planning. Never running out of air is as easy as following a simple dive plan. As long as you are monitoring your dive computer and diving within your limits, there should never be any reason for you to run out of air. Note: SSI recommends a safety stop for every dive on 5 meters or 15 feet for 3 to 5 minutes. Have you ever heard of the term decompression sickness? It's the reason your dive computers tell you how deep you can go, how long you can stay, and how fast you can ascend. You need oxygen to sustain life, but nitrogen, the inert gas, serves no real benefit. And nitrogen is the gas that limits our time underwater. As we descend, pressure increases, and so does the air passing through your lungs into the circulatory system and packing nitrogen into the bloodstream and tissues. The bloodstream will become saturated almost immediately, but it takes considerably more time for our tissues to become saturated at depth. As long as you do not exceed that time and you ascend slowly and maintain control, you can come and go as a visitor in this whole new world. What is that amount of time? Not exceeding the no decompression limits. Your SSI dive professional will teach you about the no decompression limits with either a dive computer or dive tables. As stated, nitrogen is the bad gas and will remain in solution as long as the pressure difference does not become too great. It is safe to say that the human body can stand a certain level of too much nitrogen. It is important to note that decompression sickness only occurs when a diver stays at depth too long and surfaces too quickly. The major symptom of decompression sickness is pain. The pain is described as deep, burning, and persistent, mostly in the joints. Other symptoms of decompression sickness include itchy skin rash, primarily in the areas where the skin is thin, visual disturbances, motor paralysis, weakness, loss of manual dexterity, vertigo, numbness, respiratory distress, headache, unconsciousness, loss of memory, and nausea. Treatment for decompression sickness can only be determined by competent medical personnel. In most cases, it will be recompression. The possibility of tissue damage is less if diagnosis and treatment begin as soon as possible. Never take a diver back underwater and attempt recompression. Always have an emergency plan before you dive. List the phone numbers and radio frequencies of the Coast Guard, Lifeguard Service, and other useful information in your SSI Total Dive Log and refer to the emergency procedures in SSI's smartphone app. There are many things that can interfere with proper absorption and elimination of nitrogen. Age, alcohol or drug use, extreme heat or cold, old injuries, proneness to blood clotting, obesity, medication, loss of sleep, extreme fatigue, dehydration. To avoid decompression sickness, it is recommended that you wait 24 hours if you plan to fly, or even drive above 2,500 meters or 8,000 feet. The next malady related to increasing pressure at depth is nitrogen narcosis. The increasing pressure of nitrogen that produces this effect usually begins at about 30 meters or 100 feet, which means 4 bar or atmosphere's total pressure, or 3.2 bar or atmosphere's partial pressure of nitrogen. The symptoms become more intense as depth increases. Symptoms have been known to occur with inexperienced divers at much shallower depths. The following symptoms of nitrogen narcosis are listed in terms of increasing depths: lightheadedness, numbness, and increasing self-confidence, euphoria; unusual behavior, loss of dexterity, dizziness, abnormal vision and hearing, inability to reason or follow a dive plan, carelessness about personal safety, short-term memory loss, The real danger of nitrogen narcosis is that the onset of symptoms is subtle, and the diver may not realize the danger until it is too late. Treatment for nitrogen narcosis is relatively simple. Ascend to a shallower depth. Oxygen toxicity. As we already discussed, we all need oxygen to sustain life. But oxygen breathed under too high of a partial pressure can be poisonous and the reason we do not use pure oxygen underwater. Oxygen toxicity takes place if the partial pressure of oxygen in the breathing mixture approaches 1.6 bar or atmospheres. As a reminder, the air you carry underwater is compressed air. This is the same air you breathe every day that has been cleaned and purified to a high standard. In summary, almost every diving emergency can be traced back to diver error. When diving with a high-quality, personally fitted total diving system, it is extremely rare to have an emergency caused by equipment malfunction. In general, all the diving maladies we've discussed can be easily prevented by working with your SSI Dive Center to select a high-quality total diving system and receive thorough training using that system to ensure that you understand all the multiple features that are designed to keep you safe, comfortable, and confident. Maintain a level of both short-term and long-term physical fitness. Always dive within your comfort zone, within the limits of your current training and experience. Reasonable depths, slow ascents, and no decompression diving. This section is full of technical information, possible hazards, and emergency and first aid advice. Do not let it overwhelm you. Diving is fun and easy when properly trained and equipped. Basic knowledge of your physiology and the physics of diving will help you develop proper behaviors and replace fears and fantasies with correct information. Being informed will keep you and your buddy out of trouble.